Happy to spend some time with you. I am always in my mind and studying. Sorry, guys, today you get the vision of the fan. I am sans makeup, and I am really at a morning time here. I'm gonna take you guys out later to the beach because I'm on the beach right now. But listen, I'm in my morning voice. You guys are hearing me for real, but we have to talk because I got woken up with this, and my angels wanted me to deal with it. Sam Vankin, who is a professor here who specializes in narcissism and other kind of personality disorders and teaching about it. He is the preliminary premier professor. All of the words and the verbiage that we use about narcissism that are used today so frequently, almost ad nauseum as we are describing these crazy folks in our lives, really originated from his work and studies. And why did that happen? Because he's introspective now, and because he has his own issues, and he discloses that. So go check him out if you haven't. If you're healing from narcissism, he's very helpful. If you are a Gemini or have any Gemini placements in your chart rising or whatever, you will be delighted with him. The reason I say that, just as a quick aside, Gemini or Geminians specifically love and are associated, obviously it's an air sign, with Mercury communication, and Geminis love accents. So Sam Vankin has a very distinctive voice. It's very deep, and he's also, I don't know where he's from. I don't know why I want to say he's Austrian. I don't know that that is correct though. In any case, I digress. He has just recently put up, I think within the last 24 to 48 hours, a video about closure. And because I'm on location, I cannot link it below, but I will try to remember to do that when I am back and settled in the homestead. So what I will tell you is it validated for me exactly how I handled my process of grief after leaving a narcissistic relationship. Now, not all of us are leaving narcissistic relationships. Sometimes the relationships that we are leaving are simply just a bad toxic relationship. But here's the thing that we all get hung up on, and I've taught videos about it here: closure. How do I get closure from my ex? And I've said it because I received it in download, so it was so nice to wake up and see Mr. Venkin validating it today, or whenever I saw that. I think I saw it last night, but it was on my heart, and I thought about it all night. You do not get closure from your abuser, and he talks about this and lays it out brilliantly. You do not get closure from your abuser. You're never going to extract a single thing from your abuser other than more toxicity and negativity and low vibration connections and more abuse. And he says it, and he assesses that it is a brilliant way to keep yourself in perpetual trauma if you are thinking that you're waiting for something from your abuser. Now, initially, guys, let's give ourselves all a break here. We all think that we deserve an apology because that's how we were raised, right? Kids, you did something wrong, you apologize. But once you discover that you've been 1000% either bamboozled or you bamboozled yourself, can we talk? Can we talk on this morning? If you bamboozled yourself, meaning you were in denial about some of the very obvious signs that were going on, because when we love someone, what do? We override and overlook. So, if that's the case, you're not going to get closure from that person because most of us probably spent years in relationships before we even hit the eject button, right? And we were trying to get even clear communication from that person. Now, the further away I get from my situation and my story is still my story. Welcome to my TED Talk, right? We all have a story. People do TED Talks 10 years later because of their story. And that's the part that I want to talk to you about. The further I get away from it, obviously, the more clarity I have. Obviously, the more I feel about it, and not in a way of like I want to run to you. Ooh, ooh. No, 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 no. It's the complete opposite. It's like I want to run from you. It's like run, Forrest, run. Like it's like, oh, I get it. Wow, wow. Also, you just kind of feel free. That's one of the things. But here's what happened in my journey. People, friends that absolutely love me. I will never say they don't love me. They will be friends with me and in my life for as long as they want to be in my life. And what I mean by that, quick message here: people decide when they want to exit your life, and they decide that by misaligning their vibrations. Sometimes you decide that too, but we always think that it's always in when we walk away from things that are unhealthy, people will like to project back on us, a narcissist specifically will do that and be like, you abandoned me, you left me, whatever. And also other friendships too. But if someone is not doing something that lines up with your personal ethos, they're just not going to be allowed to be in your life. It's not because you're so special. We all have that energetic vibration. Now, back to these friends. I had the I had a couple of people that were really close to me. I think two or three that were had a really hard time with the way that I grieved the ending of my relationship. Now, I didn't really invite people inside of my relationship as it was happening. And most of us will not when we are in an abusive situation. And even though I didn't understand initially that it was abusive or even halfway through, I understood to hide because as people, as an empath with an injury or with a narcissistic father, that I was taught early how to suppress my feelings to take care of others. Maybe you guys can relate. So even though there were things I didn't like and things that were uncomfortable and things that felt unfair, I just saw a good person. Empath, that's a lie. Another video coming up. Sticks and stays. I'm a stick beside him. That's bullshit. You don't. You absolutely don't. But that's what I've learned as I've evolved through self love. When my friends opined that they, one person said to me, maybe you should make a closure video. This was like 6, 7 months ago. I had not even begun to touch the iceberg regarding even the tip of it, my feelings. I even waited because I was in a delusional state for about 2 weeks to a month after leaving the relationship, where I thought that I was going to get this imaginary magical closure from this person who had never given accountability to herself, to her son, to her parents, to her God, to her own, to her not to her animals, to her pets. She was absolutely reckless. So I thought, why? I just had I was in a bit of delusion. Why do I think I'm going to get closure from her? I'm not. But my friends had a hard time hearing the grief, and one friend described it to me recently as every time I would come to watch your video, it would be you ripping off the band-aid. Well, Professor Vankin talks about this and validates me, and I trusted my own process though. That's why your intuition matters. I didn't listen to them. In fact, when those friends talked to me, it's not that I said, I hate you forever and you're out of my life. No, no, no. They were not abusers. They were concerned people who had, in their own way, been taught to suppress their expression. And I knew that because I know them, because they're my friends. I know their stories. I know their lives. I know how they process their grief or pain or trauma regarding people that had hurt them. And it was to suppress, and even having other people in their lives tell them to suppress it. And I only had, I would say, I'm not going to lie, one friend that held me and actually was like, I get it, I'm gonna just let you go. Even if it bothered her to her soul and she never conveyed it, she understood the process. Sam Benkin validates the process that my angels naturally led me on. This is why your intuition matters. I didn't have a Sam Benkin 2 or 3 years ago as I was beginning my process of grief. I had to figure it out myself, and with my angels and ancestors, I did. That's why your spiritual work and journey matters. You don't always have someone to give you the answers. In fact, it's hilarious at the end of all of this how many beautiful validations and answers have come in for me that I handled this exactly the right way. And I want to recommend that you do the same. If you are in grief, what do they say? We talk about Mary J. Blige, and we say that, her grief has produced some of the best art and songs ever. And every love song is produced regarding the ending of a relationship. After the love is gone, what used to be right is wrong. We are all introspective. What's the other one? Um, I'm forever yours faithfully. Some of the best ballads and songs, as we know, are inspired by love, November Rain, Gone Till November. These are all people examining their relationships after it's over, but through art. Now, not all of us are singers and writers or composers, and not all of us are going to have a YouTube video. Not all of us are orators or speakers, or not all of us want to share that deeply. But it is important in your life that you find a portal and a way to transmute that energy. I didn't listen to my well meaning friends who did love me because I realized the one basic fact: you can't take advice from somebody who has never walked in those shoes or who has never expressed themselves in the way that you had expressed yourself, if that makes any sense. Meaning, the ladies that gave me advice and that were somewhat taken aback or overwhelmed at the raw outpouring of my emotion had been, like I said, taught to suppress it. You have to express it. It is healthy. And Sam Vankin talks about this in his videos, one of his most recent ones. Again, go check it out. And he talks about venting not necessarily being good because that can keep you stuck. So my angels guided me as I was doing this process that it had to be teaching. Even as I exited the relationship, I told my abuser, because I'm fair, it was the most, she was not fair with me, but I was fair with her. And fair is what I used to say as I was holding her accountable in the last couple of years. She hated that phrase because she wanted nothing to be fair. But I fairly disclosed, I'm going to teach about this. And so I did. I held myself accountable, not to get as sloppy and low vibrational as I could, but to teach about it, to teach about my pain, to speak about it, to be like, no, this happened to me. Sometimes you have to look the universe in the face. You have to look your abuser in the face. You have to look the world in the face and say, I don't care if my pain makes you uncomfortable. I have to purge it. And so what I did in the purging of it was I released the connection over time. And here's the thing, a lesson coming up here from the 108 laws of the universe, the spiritual truths. Two things that have ever been in union are never disconnected, even in separation. So we can leave our partners, or we can leave our toxic exes, and then you wonder, like, well, why did I still think about it? Or how did I process it? Or why? Well, it's because that is a universal truth. When there's an energetic cord, right, we can cut the cords, we can do the meditations, but does that mean that when I'm 82 that I might not remember that person's name? Unless I have dementia or something, of course I'm going to remember that person's name. I can cut them out of my life because they don't deserve access to my energy. Empaths, we have magical energy that blesses people and raises their vibration. Another video coming up about that soon. But the point is that you will never disconnect from your ex emotionally. On some level, you will always remember that person, but that does not mean that you have to be there for the abuse or know anything about their life or anything like that. I completely disconnected, and I didn't look back. I didn't look at a picture. I didn't listen to a voice, but I didn't anything. If anything came up, I allowed it to be things from the universe, and it was things to help me heal and reminders or validations of what the fact that I was dead on regarding the abuse and the other things that were going on. The thing about it, though, regarding the closure is I was able to get to this place of full acceptance and relief and all the things. I went through all of the stages of grief, anger, denial, etc., etc. It was painful. And I will talk about some of the most painful parts later. But the thing about it is I did it my way. Very Frank Sinatra. I ignored my well-meaning friends who I knew had no access to their emotional depths regarding the fact that in their own divorces, separations, or disappointments, they were told to shut up. And I tell you instead to speak up. Empaths, we were always told to shut up. And I didn't hold it against those friends. Me being in their life was also a lesson for them about empowering yourself to speak your truth, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Because in the discomfort for some of those people, I had so many letters. For every time I had someone, and it wasn't that often, but the couple of people, it was important because the people close to you matter, right? We value their opinion. But I disregarded it, which is the hallmark of really evolving and growing up, because I knew that what I was doing was right. And today, or whenever I listened to that video from Sam Vankin, I was told exactly that. You handled it exactly how you should have handled it. But I was guided intuitively. I didn't have anyone pep talk me. And yes, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross has fantastic work on grief and brilliance. I also will be reading a book to us here soon in the collective called Tear Soup that was gifted to me recently by a great friend. And I want you to understand that. And you know what's so funny? The great irony of that, the person that gifted me the Tear Soup book is one of the people that told me that it was too much. One of the people that said, I'm uncomfortable, this hurts. And it's not because she didn't love me. She does love me. She is a good, solid human, and she loves me. However, the issue is she did not understand it, and it was tough for her. That gift of the book that I will be sharing with you was her way of saying, I get it, I see you. And you overwrote it. And now you're this like beaming. She said to me recently, like, you're just, you're not even yourself. You're changing before my eyes. You're melting away. And you know what melted away, guys? I got rid of a narcissist. This is a quick aside. I told the narcissist when I left I would lose weight because I got her out of my life. Now, I've been obese all of my life. I'm not blaming that narcissist for my weight. I might want to place the blame on that first narcissism in my life, my father, if any of y'all can relate. Am I right? But what I will say here is that narcissist had nothing to do with my weight, but being in a toxic, unhealthy relationship will weigh you down in many ways. It will cause health issues and whatever. And a year out, exactly what I thought would happen has happened in its own miraculous, universal way. Discard your narc and watch how things lighten up in your life. Even if it's not weight for you, it could be your finances, your emotional state, whatever. That's a quick message for somebody out here. Belinda, if you're listening, you remember exactly the video where we chatted about it afterwards. And I said that because that's who I am. I say the things that I feel. I say them to people's face. Life is too short for the fake shit. I don't do that. I got no time for some fake ones. Yeah. So that's the issue here for you that are listening. If you are repressing your grief over the ending or the loss, maybe it's an actual loss of a loved one who's passed away and everybody has taught you in your life, shut it down, shut it up. I say write and journal about it, which is what Sam Vankin validates, and that's what I did. I wrote a book about my experiences, and I debated, do I publish it, do I not, because I didn't know if it was just a cathartic exercise, one of those throw it away and you dealt with it. But I realized there was something here for the collective. I realized that out of these experiences you have an opportunity to teach, and the only way that I got through this, and I had, in my therapy, my therapist is like, it's amazing what has happened with you, but it's because you honored your truth, and that is the truth. It's because I spoke my truth. It's because I came here and I shared it with you. I received so many letters and so many messages and beautiful things about people that are like, oh my gosh, I so relate, or you're helping me, or you're saving lives. And the reason is not because I'm so magical, but because when we have a traumatic experience, and we transmute it into teaching or to share it, we help other people that think that no one else has seen them, does that think that their experience isn't valid and it doesn't exist. We help people climb out of themselves just like people help us to climb out of ourselves. So even though those friends loved me and they meant nothing but the best for me, they did not understand my process and they had never allowed themselves to indulge in theirs. And even in my process and standing up for myself and saying, I'm sorry that makes you uncomfortable. You can choose to watch or not, but I'm not done grieving. It was so funny when the girl said to me, maybe you should make a video about closure so your viewers know that, it gets better. It does get better, but it gets organically better when it's actually better. Now I can do that. Now I can talk to you and be like, yeah, it's not that bad. You can get through it. But when it was bad, I was into the thick of it. I was in the thick of it when people were saying they were over it. And so what I did was I separated myself from them and connected back to me. And I didn't allow them to influence me, even though they love me and they're still in my life to this day. Everything isn't always about absolutes in black and white. I did not have to vitriolically expel them from my life because they had an opinion. They're allowed to. But that opinion, you must understand, empath, is informed by their experiences. And in our experiences, empaths, with the narcissistic dynamic and the predisposition to have multiple marks in our life, what we were taught was to shut up, that our feelings don't matter, that expressing what we need doesn't matter. And as I pour over the ashes and the embers of that relationship, I can't even call them embers because, my good Girl Scouting way, I sat with that fire till it was all the way out. Amen. I sat with it. That is the rule of good camp. You sit with that fire until nothing is smoldering. So now that there's no smoldering, there could be no spark be lit, there could be anything. I now can say to you guys, not only does it get better, not only do you get through it, but I examined it at my pace, in my way. Didn't matter what anybody else had to say. What did Stevie Nicks say in Dreams? It's only right that you should play the way you feel it. I played this out the way I felt it, and I shared it, and that's how I healed it. And it wasn't because I suppressed it, I denied it, or I lied about it. As I look back in that relationship, there was a lot of telepathic communication in the relationship while we were actively in it regarding suppressing denial, because that's how my abuser lived, in denial, as a liar, as a false person behind a mask. We all can relate if you know an art, because they probably had their own experiences. I am out of the business of psychoanalyzing them to help them whatsoever. It is time for them to do their work. But for you, my loves, the work is to express your grief in whatever way you can. Paint about it, write about it, talk about it to a therapist, Don't just vent about it. It's got to be productive. It's counterproductive if it's just emotional masturbation. Okay? So when you hear me say my story, now you can even hear from those of you that are day ones, you've seen the change from me literally splaying it out and pouring over every piece with a microscope to now I'm not getting the emotional charge when I say it, because that's another thing. Our brain can't tell the difference between what's actually happening and what is being dreamt about or manifested. So if you're talking about something, your brain does think that it's happening and it reconjures it. So we can re-traumatize ourselves, and you have to be so careful about that. Just as an experiment, I want you to try this with me. I want you to think about sucking a lemon. I want you to actually think about that for the next couple of seconds. Just imagine the lemon going into your mouth and the burst of it. And as I'm doing it, it's happening. My mouth is starting to water and salivate right in the back pucker, right by our jaw, where that that pucker hits. And that's because even though there is no lemon in my mouth or in my hand, my mind understands and remembers the memory of what a lemon feels like, and it is creating salivation in order to prepare me to digest the enzymes of that. That is exactly what happens every time you re-traumatize yourself in a venting that isn't productive regarding teaching and expressing and or transmuting is the word I want to use for us earth angels and past light workers, the energy. If I just sat around for the next 17 years and was like, my ex was terrible, my ex was terrible, my ex, and she hurt me, she hurt me, and she hurt me. Yeah, that happened. All of those things are true. But I got to teach about it in order to make it be distilled, not just to you, but for me. I don't want to re-traumatize myself. And so I've noticed that now when I talk about her, I don't feel like, I hope all, y'all, you know how we feel about an ex after their ex, especially these narcissists. But I don't feel the intensity of that. Now I see her as the sad, pathetic person that she is and was, and I know that she'll be in her cycle and stuck and at her station for life. And now I see how magical I was. Does that make sense? Y'all, it's so nice when you get out of the I hate them, I hate them, I hate them, and I hope they are the worst. Like, you know how we are, guys. You know how we are as humans. We can get really, when we're hurt, we recoil and we are terrible. And I didn't like that person. I don't wish anything bad for her. Good luck. I didn't like the person I became, meaning in my closure process. I didn't like the person that I became at a certain point in it when I was just like, God is so good to have separated us, because I hated her. I'm not going to lie, I hated her. I despised her. And now I can talk about it as a cautionary tale and a powerful lesson for you guys. And there is no despise in it. And I don't feel re-traumatized when I see things, or when someone may ask me a question or it gets up, and someone's on here asking me questions, or you guys. In order to teach, you can't be triggered, and that means you have to transmute. I don't know. That's just something my angel said. In order to teach, you can't be triggered, and that means that you have to transmute. So I'm talking to my practitioners here, my fellow metaphysicians, and people that are in this industry and also creating healing and doing this work. In order to teach, you can't be triggered, and in order to not be triggered, you must transmute. That might be a whole separate video that I teach about that. Thank you, angels. But that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Disregard your well-meaning friends that don't understand. And it's healthy. If you're talking to a friend about something over and over, that might be exhausting. In my case, I had not inundated the two women that talked to me at all over and over with this information, but they were watching my videos, which was their choice. And that was my choice to transmute it. The reason I didn't talk to friends about it deeply and intimately, except for one person, besides therapists and whatnot, is because I know in your youth, you realize nobody cares about your breakup. Nobody cares about all that stuff after the first week or two. Like, everybody's got their own problems in life. So I decided I'd have to make it creative and transmute it here. But they were making the choice to watch it and then giving me feedback. And I was like, oh, sweetie, no. You understand that you also have a choice here, too. And one of them did say to me, I ended up having to not engage until I could tell that you had moved through some of the processes. But guess what? That's the catch 22. I would have never moved through the processes if I had taken somebody's advice or anybody's advice. There's several people to just shut it down and shove it away and act like it didn't happen. Oh no, it happened. And now they come to me, and this is another thing, empath. This is another thing, light worker. This is another thing, trendsetter. Now people come to me and they're like, wow, I really learned so much through your process, and I see and I get it, and you're so different. I am different because I allowed myself the permission to exist in my pain, but I didn't wallow in it. I moved through it and I transmuted it, and I recommend you do the same. Check out Dr. Sam Vankin. and hear him about closure. You give it to yourself. To stay there and get it from someone else is to only torture yourself. It's to mutilate yourself emotionally. The person who abused you is never going to give it to you. In conclusion, they never gave you anything substantial in the relationship. They are wholly immature and incapable. We all know that narcissists are emotionally stunted. So if you're coming here about a narcissist and not just a random ex, they are 12, 13. They're in high school. They are immature. They are petty. They are vindictive. You're not getting anything from them. If you talk to them, what they're going to tell you is, oh, my new supply is so magical, and her vajay pops in three different new ways. And I like, y'all, come on. You really, and also, that's all, y'all, don't do it to yourself, okay? Give yourself your closure. And I learned that not because of this last lesson, but past just breakups with regular people. People are petty and vindictive. When you break up, if they feel like you're doing better, or if they want to still hurt you because they're still attached, and we all are still attached in the freshness of a breakup, they will do wildness and anything. Don't allow anybody to do that to you. The hermit mode for sure, and then transmute it in whatever way. But don't take advice from people that have never walked out your process in the way that you think is the healthiest for you. Now, I'm not saying that I know all of the things. I do get a lot of downloads about the things, but having Dr. Vankin validate that just randomly recently was delightful because it's exactly what I did, and it means that it is healthy, not just because the doctor said so. It was healthy because I decided it was healthy for me, against the advice of people that couldn't never fathom, even though they've had their pain and loss and grief, but they couldn't fathom mine or the abuse. Especially for those of us guys, one more thing, who have been in abusive relationships, we suppress it, right? We don't talk about it while it's happening because maybe we're in denial about it as it's happening. Message, I certainly was for a great deal of the time until the last like 5 years, and I was like, what am I doing here? What, I hate this person, she hates me, what are we doing? So I was there because I was obligated. I was assigned as an earth angel. I had other stuff to do. You've heard me talk about it, but I remember when I woke up in the relationship and I was like, this is horrible, and I feel like I'm 16 again, and not in a good way, not and I feel young and magical, not in you make me feel so young. No, I felt like the immaturity. I felt like I needed more. I felt like I deserved more. And so, an ending that was so unfortunate, a tower moment, had to happen in order for me to get to a place where I could be fed and validated. The same will be for you. But upon the exit, y'all, that closure is not something your ex is capable to do. Don't delude yourself. All right, guys, I love you so much. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.